Okay, hello and welcome everybody. This is the debut show of The Target. It's sponsored by 2P. My name is Heflamoke and today I have a guest with me. It's fucking mad and I love the name. Well, it's one of the unique ones. My nuts kinda beats it, but well, this one is the old school one. Hitbox and Vulcan are also involved in this project that they make it all possible. The Target is a show that will focus on pretty much one big topic each and every show, where you also get the chance to ask that on Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And I will read all those questions. You are also able to ask questions in the chat. I try to incorporate them somehow in the question. Today's topic is pretty much how to become a pro player, how to transition into a successful career right there. And once that career is over, and that is, I guess, something that can be determined by no success, or I'm just too old, or I just have no time because I want to do real life things as well. How do you transition into something else that includes esports, for example, casting, etc.? So everybody welcome Mr. Fucking Mad.
Yep. Well, thanks for having me. I like the topic, and I'll be glad to try to answer those questions. If it can help anyone listening, then it will be my pleasure.
So my first question is pretty much like under this topic today, how to become a pro player. Can you give us like a nutshell version of like how, where, when you were born, and how old were you when you actually set the first footstep into esport as such, gaming, and then where was the transition to competitive?
So, I mean, I wasn't really cl gaming so much before I got into Dota 2, or into Dota, rather. I was just playing computer games from time to time, but nothing very special. Uh, and I was probably 12 or 13, maybe a bit older actually, maybe 14, let's say. And I had that friend that just played casually Dota 2 from time to time. And one time after school, I just went to his place and played. And at first, he was just trying to know who was better at this game. And eventually, we were like, let's play versus each other. So that's how I got the game on my computer, and then started playing it online a bit.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, I guess it's a lot about your how it's called, the mindset you have as a person. Like if you're a competitor, if you like challenges, like that's how I am. Like that's who I am. Like I work only with challenges. So I was like, let's try to be a bit better and better. And then you play with better players. You play to some, I don't know how is it called, some different ladders, BattleNet, whatever, better in houses with more level. And then bit by bit, you start playing with very decent players, and that's how I ended up playing with the best French team back in the days. It was in 2010 or 2011,
Yeah.
and eventually that was like those were my first steps in the competitive scene. I was with Virus Gaming back in the days.
Yep. I also have like a team list of you here. Team Shakira, Western
Yeah,
Bulls, the MTV or MTW.
team.
Quantic is, I guess, something worth to mention, as well as
Yeah.
Sigma. I mean, Sigma was a nice project of yours. Where you also the first time took like a captaining role, I guess.
Team Shakira, Western Wolves, Virus, all those were the same. We were sponsored as for quite some time.
Yeah.
It was this phase where it was me and Sox mainly, like help, like I mean pushing the others, but we just wanted to get experience. Like I remember we were so hungry for like LAN experience. We were just going to events, although we knew we had very like poor chances, and usually we would end up last, or I mean just one before the last place. And then we still went. I mean, we went to DreamHack with our own money. We slept on the floor there. It was this kind of Dota. Like, we just wanted to get experience, get better.
And
And
on
yeah.
yeah on all this on all the journey, like did your parents and friends support you on that, or like was it
No.
the traditional oh my god, learn a real job, finish school,
Yeah.
etc.?
No, for sure. That was always the case. I mean, I was I wouldn't say brilliant, but I was doing really well in school when I was younger, like really, really well. So I got like some in French, it's you get some state award stuff like this. So I was doing quite well, and when my parents saw that I just stopped working as hard and started investing a lot of time in a video game, obviously they fought me really, really hard, and for quite some time. But I'm very stubborn, and I mean, I do listen to people's opinion, but when I consider it and I put
Yeah.
myself in question, the conclusion that comes after is one of what I'm gonna go for. So it's like I think everyone that starts playing Dota and wants to aim for competitive, just make sure you always listen people that care about you because they are right in everything they say, but also they don't. There's a lot of info they miss. I mean, especially for Dota, for example, like the even for me, it was hard to know how the scene would grow and everything. Today, it's very easy to defend when you want to start a career in esport. It's so easy. Like, look at the cash prize, look at the whole like economy that's around it. But back in the days, it was very hard to defend. It was like, what are you gonna do there? You're investing months to go to a tournament where you're gonna win a headset, and like it was really hard to defend. So yeah, they fought me. Obviously, they didn't want me to invest any time in it, but I still went for it, and eventually it paid off. But I just mean one should never be stubborn. Should always put yourself in question.
Yeah.
Make sure it's the right choice. You're doing it right also, because sometimes when you're very stubborn and you tunnel vision, what you were aiming for, and that's like most likely. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's what you need a bit of this to
Of course,
succeed.
that's the leader type, the alpha male that is just punching through every wall
Yeah,
in its way.
exactly. It can be a very good asset, but it can also be what's gonna prevent you from ever getting there. Because then you don't put yourself in question enough, just the way you approach the game, the way you practice. Because
Yeah.
I do think that getting at this level also requires a lot of balance between your personal life and Dota. If you go full on Dota, I don't think it works either, or it's gonna stop you at some point. But anyway, we can probably discuss everything like
Yeah.
those things later. But yeah, the point is that yeah. So yeah, at this time when I was playing with the French guys and we didn't get a lot of success, I didn't have any support pretty much. And then eventually it brought us to meet better players, to beat better players as well. So we ended up making a team with Cinderin, Kebab, and it was Sakshka and Fanzi and me. So that was MTW, and that was truly the first international experience. That was a success for me.
Yeah. By the way, talking about Sigma, since that was one of your stations pretty much along the way, someone here on Reddit is asking, like, is the French Sigma still active?
The French Sigma is not is not active anymore. Sigma is frozen, if I don't want to say that right now. I mean, the project ended up pretty much when Farah and Bas left.
Hmm.
And I gotta admit, I had no motivation to keep on going with that. It was very hard for me to tank, let's say,
Yeah.
because I put a lot of effort and a lot of hope in that project. So yeah, it pretty much stopped the project completely.
Yeah. And also a connected question to this, Dota in French. I mean, are there major tournaments in France, and like what about the French Dota scene? Someone says here, like, in comparison to League of Legends, Dota is really a completely unknown thing in France.
Yeah, it is completely unknown, and that's also one of the challenges you have to face when you go pro. I mean, I'm not saying it's easier for other players or whatever, but there are some countries where it's just more recognized. It's in France most of the time. It's not only about Dota; it's just about esport and video games in general. Like it's a very it's I would say people think that it's bad,
Yep.
and it was a good challenge for me when I started Sigma. I was part of like I was doing business with it as well. I mean, I was going to those business meetings and everything, and I had to defend esport versus anything else. And
Oh yeah,
it
I
was very
know. I
nice for
even
me to
know
get
how
into
that
that.
is
Yeah,
because from my job, pretty much. Like, I mean, I started as a Dota caster, but like as much as I wanted to make possible, as in tournaments, shows, and casting gigs and whatnot, I suddenly found myself in a business position where I don't even have time for what I originally wanted to do. And I guess that's the same for players that suddenly become, for example, a team manager or try to do it at the same time.
yeah.
So far, nobody has proven that this concept could work out because
Well,
you do either or successfully, not
exactly,
both. Yeah.
exactly, and that's a very good point. And that was my main lesson from Sigma. It was that I was the thing is that I've been playing Dota for quite some years, like with the MTW, Quantic, whatever, and I was doing quite okay, although my playtime was very small. Like I was studying at the same time. I was just like hanging out with friends a lot and just playing Dota when I had time, and it worked for some reason.
Yep.
I'm not sure why, but then it worked. So I got too greedy with Sigma. I thought I could work on the sponsor side plus be a player plus I was studying, and I mean it was just completely unrealistic and uh, immature or what. I just I was too greedy and I paid the very hard price
The
because
iron price.
people weren't satisfied with me as a player and weren't satisfied with me as you know what I mean. Like you can't do everything. Either you do something right. If you want to do everything at the same time, you're gonna do everything wrong, and that's basically what happened to me. And it's a lesson well learned because now I know that playing Dota requires to go full time. Else, at some you're gonna reach your limits at some point, and it's gonna be very frustrating.
Yep, definitely. I mean, this whole journey ended now pretty much in Alliance, which is a huge step, I guess. Just
Yeah.
the name, just getting in that kind of team, having that name, and I mean, it comes with certain expectations. Alliance had a bad year. That's no secret whatsoever. Um, some people already, like, let's say, downgraded their expectations. They know not everything is as it should be, but of course, like winning TIs and then trying to reform each and every new TI, there's this pressure that comes just with the team name. So how do you actually deal with this now?
I mean, for me, it's not really the case, right? Because I didn't win TI, unfortunately.
Yeah,
But
but you carried
uh,
the team name.
yeah, exactly. I mean, okay, that's what I'm gonna answer is very personal. I don't know if it's the same for my teammates, but at least the way I function is I don't really, I just play as like the best I can. I don't really have pressure because I'm Alliance or
Yeah,
I had the same pressure when I'm Alliance that I'm than when I'm like what was our name like Western Wolves or whatever we were called, Team Shakira or whatever.
yeah,
It's the same. I just try my best. It's also the same. I don't have pressure. If it doesn't matter if I'm facing Secret or facing some random team that I never heard about. It's the same. Dota's Dota, and we've been playing this game for so long. We're so focused in the game that it doesn't matter. We just come do our thing, and yeah, I wouldn't say I feel any pressure. I feel sad when I lose. I feel happy when I win, or sometimes I can feel sad when I win because I don't think it was a clear
yeah.
game or the other way around. But
But that's
what I mean is
natural.
that
Yeah,
yeah, we're more focused about the game. At least me, I don't really have those. I don't take all this in consideration at all. Sure, the big step for me is to actually be in a very good sponsor, for
yeah,
once. So that's a good thing. Everything is so smooth, and you're able to actually focus on your game, which is a big difference.
yeah.
But that's pretty much the only difference I feel, at least.
I guess it's also there's a financial aspect to the entire thing as well. I mean, we talked about like the journey, becoming a pro player, doubts of your parents and friends that want to rather push you into the traditional European or Western career, like school, further education, the highest education you can get. But
Exactly.
instead, you said like, "Yo, guys, I want to be a pro player. I really love this, and I can make it happen." Now, Alliance, we don't need to go in numbers or any details, but I can imagine it's definitely more lucrative playing there and more well taken care of than previous teams.
Yeah, it's
So
like
yeah,
I guess they understand what a sponsor is. It's like
yeah,
the sponsor should like make sure the players are actually able to focus on the game. It's nothing huge or what. It's just very basic thing. And you know, throughout my career, I always had very big argues with sponsors, and I had argues with like sometimes some CEO sponsor that comes and it was like very prestigious sponsors, and they would come to you with the basic like $300 or $400 plus 20% cut, like that wouldn't
yeah,
make any sense. And you're like, I had so many argues with those guys, and I'm like, do you understand that? Sorry,
mm,
do you understand that you deserve a cut if you actually help us win games? But by giving us very few, like a very little salary or something, we still have to. We have all our like personal troubles, right?
yeah.
Like we all
But
have
this
different
is
situations. But yeah, what I mean is
yeah.
that sponsors were never really serious and professional. I mean, they did like
I mean,
some
they are
sponsors were.
professional, but not in an esport fashion. That's one
No,
of the
exactly.
biggest problem in the esport industry. That like a lot of sponsors we get, and that it really doesn't matter. May it be a player, a team, a tournament, a caster, whatsoever. These sponsors they enter industry they have no idea about, and they
Yeah.
deal with you just like you were another company. And there are certain sets, but you can't really apply that, especially in this sports sense. But we are getting there, to be honest.
No, for
Like
sure.
the in
We
the
are
last
getting
two
there.
years, we had a lot of progress. I think the community managers now, I don't know, making that link between the industry and the sponsors.
No, and I think right now there are a lot of very solid sponsors, and they are the most successful ones. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think the most successful sponsors are the most professional sponsors and the one that aren't too greedy.
Yeah.
They just understand how to do business, because doing business is not about being greedy. Myself, I was on the sponsor side, and you know, like I think back in the days there were a lot of sponsors that just wanted to abuse the fact that players were usually young, a
Yeah.
bit immature. I mean, you play Dota for 4 years, suddenly you're someone that actually your value went really up, and you don't understand that, you know, like you're 16 or 17 or 18, whatever, and then people can actually make money out of what you do, and you don't understand your value, and they come and offer you something, and you're like, that's good, but then, yeah, I guess some players were realizing how abused they were, and then it
Yeah.
kind of changed. But yeah, whatever. That changed a lot. And what my point was that alliance is a completely different word, and I knew that word existed. That's why I thought the sponsor I was in or I talked with before a lot. But yeah, it feels good to be there. Honestly, it removes a lot of worries and a lot of useless energy that I had to spend
Yeah.
instead of just focusing on the game.
Okay, I mean, let's talk a bit about Alliance. I mean, this journey in a nutshell of fucking Mad was very interesting to see, like, how was the support in the background and how many, like, also bad experience did you have to make to finally get into a decent team and also be successful or potentially successful with it. Because, I mean, we have the TI at our doorstep.
Yeah.
There have been two bigger events, let's say I can't even remember. Was it last week, DreamHack, or the week before? Time
I'm
is
not sure. DreamHack was, yeah, I'm not even sure.
yeah,
Let's say during April.
2 weeks, 2 weekends ago
2 weeks, yeah.
yeah. I was there. Unfortunately, I didn't get an interview with you because I don't know. You guys were busy playing. You were in a hotel. I had to grab other players, but of course we met on the after party. Where we had at least a short, nice conversation. Either way, Alliance, Starladder, I mean, it was not the easiest tournament for you. I already said it in our little pre-talk. You met IG in the first round, which is, of course, kind of unfortunate seeding. But that's sometimes how it is. The good thing about double elimination, you get a second chance. And there you actually took your chance. Secret was your first. And Secret, one of the most favorite and high, I don't know, held up teams at the moment. Like as the Joker team that might perform really, really well. But you kicked them out right there after they lost against Team Malaysia, which was already upset. And Alliance was, I think, percentage-wise, for example, maybe on betting sites, you were definitely not the favorite in that matchup.
And yeah, I'm pretty sure we were not the favorites.
Yeah, so Secret getting there a second upset, getting kicked out by you. Unfortunately, you met Cloud9, and they were at least on the start in a very decent shape. That was pretty much the end for you in that tournament round 2. But tell me, like, besides the gaming and the results, like Starladder, new venue, new everything. Like, how did you, I don't know, perceive the entire experience there?
I think it was very fine. I had a very good time there. I always have a good time. I have a very good relationship with the organizers as well. I
Hmm.
do understand sorry, that some things weren't very optimal. I did not get to play on the second stage, for example, or whatever that was called, because he wasn't on the stage. I
Yeah,
know, for
it
example, that
was.
Team Taker had to play a lot of games there, and it sucks. And
Yeah.
I saw the conditions. I don't think they were the best, so that's a bad point. Um, we did have some struggles with the schedule because IG was stuck in Frankfurt, and then we were asked to play probably very late in the day or play all our games the same day. I mean,
Yes.
there was some stuff that weren't optimal,
But I mean,
but
in this
overall the
case,
event was really good.
in this case, I mean, the organizer couldn't do anything against it. IG having
Yeah,
visa problems, being stuck
of
somewhere on an
course.
airport in Germany, that's things that happen on offline events, I guess.
It's also there is a thing right now with players, and of course I think of Eternal Envy. I know people criticize him a lot for being so talkative or whatever. I also think they are right in a way. We should be able to tell organizers everything that's wrong and
Yeah.
bad, and the tournaments with the community fundings should be perfect. Every tournament should, like players and especially actually the fans are, they have the right to get the perfect tournament with the amount of money that's spent on those
Yeah.
tickets. The tournament should be perfect. There's no excuse at all. There's not this excuse where yeah, but you know how expensive that is, or this is bullshit nowadays. So it's like But I do think there's a way to communicate with people. You can't just be in a tournament, stay silent, and then when you get home, just post that blog or on Twitter and just flame everyone, calling them cheap fucks or whatever.
Yeah,
That's not
that's
professional. That's very bad. And
yeah,
I mean,
that's the way where Eternal Envy pretty much strikes those
yeah,
people that like kind of, I wouldn't say even hate him, but criticize for him
yeah,
because
but they are right.
yes,
It's not a way to talk to
yeah,
people or to communicate, honestly.
yeah.
And if he feels like he's not mature enough to communicate, then he should go to his manager and whoever and have him communicate with people.
Or
It's fine
proofread
to
the article. Like
no,
let's say,
exactly.
hey, I
No,
want to
exactly.
like release my blog, please can you read, is that something I can, you know, release also under the name of Cloud9? But apparently like this bridge between Eternal Envy and the community and whatever he puts out in the internet, it doesn't go through a manager or anything. I mean, I'm not talking about censorship, I'm just talking about, hey, criticize them as much as you want, that's completely legit, but you shouldn't call them certain words
Exactly, I
because
agree
that's
completely.
unprofessional.
And like he might feel sad because then he can't really speak his mind. I think you can always say whatever you want with the very polite words. You can
Yeah.
flame with and be polite and being polite. You know what I mean? So it's fine. But yeah, that's also part of being known and being a celebrity. Like a lot of people listen to him and write and read what he writes, so he has responsibilities with it. And like it doesn't matter if he likes it or not. It's how it is. And I think anyway, I took his example because he's the most known guy in doing this. But I think players criticize a lot,
Yeah.
and there should be a way to actually do it in a better way. And I know personally all the Starloaded admins. That doesn't mean I'm very neutral towards this because I also want the best conditions for the tournament. But I know they would listen, and they actually listen to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just a way to talk to people, honestly.
Well, listening and actually putting it into action is also something, well, that's not the most optimal in the industry. I hope the whole critique on the event will find its merits somewhere. I mean, we will have next, I think next Tala will be in Romania as well, and also DreamHack will be in Cluj-Napoca, which is also in Romania, but also different cities. So this whole venue changes, of course, brings also a lot of disadvantages. I mean, Ukraine was their home turf. They knew exactly everything that's going on. They could prepare for it for years. Here, they had to work with what they had, and to be honest, for me, the kind of funny part is I was before Starlight actually made the go to Romania. I was in Romania for other events, also DreamHack before that, the year before that, and I could have told them about certain conditions. For example, the second stage, how they call it, which is nothing but like public PCs. That this
Yeah.
is not working out and this will be like criticized. I could have told them about the entire venue, the space, the bleed through of sound and everything. This was for me. This was obvious as someone who comes from the production and casting side of events. But yeah, well, like nobody's consulting me there, so they had to make their own experience. That's totally fine. Anyway, let's skip this Bucharest topic because I can pretty much say for us both we enjoyed the trip. The after
Yeah.
party was also amazing. I don't know if I mentioned it on a cast, but maybe we should also put it here on the podcast. Tell us a bit about like how you received or perceived the after party. Twitch. It was organized by Twitch, by the way, and I
Okay.
think they did a good job. It was a nice location.
It was great. It was a nice location. I just enjoy being able to meet Dota people. I mean, everyone that's part of this community in a different situation. It could be other players,
Yeah.
not in game. It could be casters, and we don't even have to talk about Dota. So I'm not sure we can talk about it. But what I mean, we're just hanging out, and that's very nice because it's a lot of nice people, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, for me, this is always a very welcoming end for such a LAN event where I did a lot
Exactly.
of coverage because when I interview people or talk with people, everything has to be formal. I have to keep a certain time limit for interviews. It has to be direct questions, otherwise people rip you apart on Reddit because like, oh, that interviewer he didn't ask this and this and this, you know. So the casual approach is not always welcome, especially in the public business. But after party is exactly the point where you meet people and also yeah get to know the person behind the player, the caster, etc. And sometimes you're surprised because the people on camera are not necessarily the people then in real life you meet
No,
there.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's.
would agree.
Anyway, one more thing about Alliance, the results and everything. Nikwa was in Bucharest on Starladder, and I
Yeah.
had also the pleasure to meet him. He's actually a really nice guy. He's young and crazy, pretty much just like you. Um, it's it kind of hit me when they announced that he's not with the team anymore. Of course, that's not a decision of like who do I like, who I dislike. It's a decision of team synergy. Loda on, I think Team Liquid, they released this post of Loda quoting that with Nikwa, it's a loss, but there was just not the synergy for, let's say, the goals we want to achieve this year. So that's the main reason for letting him go.
Yeah, pretty much. Like there are a lot of reasons. Nothing that concerns him directly. I mean, as a person, or he's a great guy. He's a good player.
Yeah.
Like it's yeah, I'd say the team lacked synergy. It wasn't a decision, a very sudden decision. It wasn't like, okay, we lost, like, we need to change something.
Did he
That's
know before the event?
no, he didn't know. He
Okay.
knew after the event, but before the event, I mean, like, it wasn't clear. We weren't discussing it as a team or without him. It's just we all had feelings that, I think when Loda said I considered removing him before, like he probably had this in mind. I also felt like something wasn't really optimal. We all had this, but we didn't talk about it. Like
Yeah.
we just talked about it after because also, I mean, ending an event, then this is when you also have team talks. He was part of the team talk. Like you need to, what went wrong, what went right. Oh, and not only in that event, just generally what's going right now, like right now, what's going wrong,
Yeah.
etc. And no, I think at least I know I'm like this, but Loda and Ake proved it this year that they are those people. They don't care about names. They don't care about achievements. They trust people. Like they tried so many players, and they actually went to me, or I mean, played with me when I wasn't achieving anything.
Yeah.
So they're not those very blink. I don't know how to. I wouldn't find the word, but whatever, you got me. And then so they should, like, people should give them the credit to actually trust their decisions and trust them, like believe they are very fair when it comes to this type of decisions.
Yeah.
But yeah, about Nikwa, we just lacked synergy. I think he's a good player, but he lacks a lot of experience, and I don't think that on the short term it was fine. We did well, but I think that on the mid to long term, it wasn't a go. At least not for me. I think I'm happy with the change. I respect him a lot as a player, and I would have appreciated play with him. But
Yeah.
I'm personally happy with the change. I wish him
Do you
the
see
best.
him? Do you see him in another team like right away, or because I mean, okay, synergy wise, that's one reason to let someone go. But I mean, I watched some of the games and I think he has potential in teams that exist right now. So I
No, he
guess I wish
does.
him the best. But maybe he already has something in talks. Who
Sure,
knows?
maybe, and I hope he does. That's also the thing with players. Some players are a bit stronger than others. I mean, with their mindset and their mental, like I hope he's not. He doesn't feel down and he's just gonna bounce. It happened to me many times, and you know, I mean, if you're confident in your own abilities, then he's gonna find the team. He's gonna create a team, whatever. He's just gonna keep playing, and he should.
Yeah.
I hope he does. I'm pretty sure he won't stop, and that's a very good thing.
Okay.
But
Talking a bit further on this line, pretty much. I mean, Lola stated that you tried a bit with EGM.
yeah, I wasn't playing with them so much. I
Yeah.
I, I pretty much arrived when EGM left, more or less.
Ah, okay. So you kind of skipped that part, but okay. Let's just fast forward, and we are at Mr. Bulldong.
Yeah,
You had the chance to already play with him.
yeah. I've been playing with him quite a lot in pubs and
Hmm.
etc. I have the biggest respect for that guy as a player, and I know people criticize him. I've seen a lot of criticism, like he abandoned Alliance and now he comes back because Lone Raid is back. I mean, honestly,
Well, this is kind of funny that you mentioned this because I have a viewer question here, and I wasn't sure how I
yeah.
built this into the podcast, but it's wait, let me find it here. Like, how do people think that he like left TI and is now coming for the cash for the
But
TI?
like
So yeah,
first of all, like it doesn't make any sense. Like for many reasons. Like first of all, people are assessing that he's a bad guy. So sure, you
Hmm.
can assess that, but whatever. Would the others agree with that? I mean, it would never happen that if it was the case, players such as Loda or Aki would accept to play with him again, even if he's good. You don't play with people that aren't respectful, that aren't team players. You know, this is very important. It's more important than skill at this level.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I never
sure.
had the impression that the Bulldog is a very. I mean, we have to look back in Alliance when they somehow brought Bulldog in. He was a complete no name. I
Yeah,
mean,
he's a
yeah,
very respectful guy and a
yeah,
very he has a lot of values. Like it's not the case at all. And I mean, I wasn't there when he left Alliance, but from my understanding, he just took a break after winning TI and losing a bit of motivation. I mean, I did not win TI, so I don't know, but I can imagine that when you win the biggest tournament, you know, like obviously, what's next? There is this question that rises, and then what's next for me? I
yeah,
just did all I had to do in this game, pretty much. I just proved that I'm the best in the world. What's next? And I know myself, it happened to me many times in life with other stuff, not being the best in the world, but you fix yourself in a challenge and you succeed in it, and then you're like, all right, now I feel a bit not depressed, but I feel like you know I kind of have to start from scratch, something else. So either you're like, okay, I'm gonna play guitar, and you know, I mean, whatever you have this habit that you want to go for, or yeah, you're a bit lost, I guess, and you lose motivation. I'm pretty sure that's what happened to him, and then it took some time for him to get it back. And
yeah.
it's not also like Bulldog is like, okay, I want to come back. It's also I want to come back, and Alliance wants to get him back. So all those things made it possible. But I'm actually very glad he's back in Alliance. I think he's
Did
one
you
of
have the time
the
to actually
best
practice with
players.
him already?
No, not really, not so much. We played a few games. It was very unfortunate because we had this Aces played call tournament last weekend, and unfortunately for me, I was on holidays the 4 days before, so I didn't get even one game on that new patch before we played the tournament. So it was very unfortunate. But now we're gonna get a lot of playtime
Hmm.
starting today because we came home tomorrow. We from Germany, so like yeah, starting today we're gonna get a lot of practice and. I personally studied that patch quite a lot, so I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be like we had this really good run. I think we might have an even better one. Let's
Yeah.
see.
That brings me actually to a viewer question we have right here. How does he practice, especially for drafting? And I'm gonna extend that question to like, what is the plan now for Alliance? How do you guys practice? I mean, TI is soon. We talk about what effectively 1.5 months or so, like direct preparation. And given let's just say there's no direct invite, which is also another topic I want to like talk about next. But like, what is the plan now, practice wise?
The plan right now is just to play, like build how to say, build our very own play style, a bit like we did in 6.83. We had those like very our very own drafts and our very own way to play, and it was we were quite successful in it. The only problem was that we had to play so many games that people would spend a lot of time just analyzing our games, blah blah, blah, which
Yeah,
nerfed us in a way. Hopefully, it's not gonna be the same this time around, and I would like to make sure it's not the same, which is maybe just not playing so many tournaments or you know. But yeah, anyway, just I think that at this level, you should just focus on having your own play style, play your game, play on your player strength. Like that guy plays that hero really well, or that guy is very aggressive, or that guy is very passive, whatever, and then you just build on that and try to help them shine. Sorry, that's
yeah.
how I draft. I mean, that's how I work as a
And
drafter.
the direct invite, is there still hope? I mean, who did you fill in your
Mm,
compendium? Was it Alliance?
of course, I feel the lions in my
Oh, of course, the
compendium.
loyalty is there.
Of course, but yeah, I mean, I think there's always a chance. Sure, I don't want to think there's no chance. That's not how I am as a person. But yeah, I'd say we kind of missed opportunities, I guess, to actually be clearly like deserve one clearly.
Yeah.
Starlighter was one. Aces, I don't know. That tournament was a bit random in the sense that the patch was out 2 days ago, so I don't think that tournaments matter so much. But
Well, you met
yeah,
Lemon Dogs there, and then against Virtus Pro, you lost. Also,
yeah.
that
So
game was actually something like a game where Alliance was more or less the favoritized
yeah,
team.
no, for sure. But yeah, it's hard to say it right now because I'm not really sure about those invites honestly because sure Empire did well, but on the other hand, they didn't really attend like the biggest lands when you think about it. MLG, yeah, sure, EG was there, but EG with no practice that heavily underperformed. It's really hard to judge. I don't know. To be honest, I have no idea. I know that Secret deserves an invite. I know that
Mm-hmm.
Cloud9 deserves an invite for
Actually,
sure.
for many people, they left Secret out because they're not sure. They say like, well, after Stella, the performance
Nah,
and
that's that's
lack of games,
that's
etc.
that's wrong. Honestly,
That's
that's very
wrong.
wrong. Yeah, you can't, if you take that approach, then we shouldn't discuss invites until the last LAN of the year, and then
Yeah.
whoever wins the LAN gets an invite. You know, but that's really wrong in my opinion. I think Secret obviously deserves an invite. They were the top one team in the West for like, okay, maybe now people are gonna say Cloud9 are better than Secrets because they won a couple of games and Secret lost them, but that's very random in my opinion. Secrets clearly deserves one. Like my approach to those invites, that besides Secret and Cloud9, I don't think any teams in the Western scene clearly deserves an invite. That's an Empire included.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about it. So the best thing would be to have qualifiers for all those teams, but that's not possible. So whatever. My approach as a player is that if we get an invite, I'm really happy. If we have to qualify, then whatever. Anyway, if we're not able to
Well,
beat the qualifier teams, then what are we gonna do at TI anyway? I don't even want to go if it's to be last. So either way, I'm fine,
yeah.
and the conclusion is the same.
To be
Practice, work
honest,
hard, and whatever.
my go on like qualifiers and actually going the hard way through is, of course, it's sort of exhausting, and like being directly invited would give you some leeway on practice and everything, but maybe it's also good because I mean it's a relatively new team. It gives you the opportunity to play on a pretty high level, and if you
Yeah.
go through those qualifiers, then you definitely deserve to be there, and I can just hope the best. One last thing, because we are almost at the end of our time here. The part of being a pro player, not just the journey till here, which we discussed so far, it's also the part of like what comes after, what comes in between. And you already had like a nice little shot on casting, hosting, being on a panel, analyzing, whatever you want to call it, because I think you're very versatile in that role. Is that something you, I don't know, want to do after you're done with Alliance? Or I don't know, you're 22, right?
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna turn 23 in a few days.
yeah, so we are talking about an age where you might still have some years ahead of you as a pro player, but
Hmm.
let's just say the point comes where you don't want to play competitive anymore because you think you don't cut it anymore, you don't want to focus on that anymore. What's next?
It's honestly hard to say. I don't know. I When I was casting, I had a really good time, but I
Hmm.
also felt like I am a player before anything else, and I enjoyed casting a lot. But then all those sacrifice, you know, when you play Dota and when you invest so much time, it's a lot of sacrifice. I also think that even when you're a caster or you analyze games, you need to play or follow the scene very closely, invest a lot of time because there was some tournaments where before I was away or on holidays, and then I felt like my game understanding is really not good enough to actually
Yeah.
call picks or know what's going on. So either way, it's a lot of time that you need to invest to understand the meta, understand the teams, the mindset, whatever. And when you play, for me, it's worth investing this time. So sacrifices with your friends, with your girlfriend, boyfriend, who, if you're a girl or boy, I don't know, your parents, your school, you give up a lot.
Yeah.
So when I play, I feel like it's worth it because I love competition. I love like the fact that I get to travel. You can make a bit of money, blah blah. So that's good. But when you cast, I don't know. Personally, I don't think I would have the same motivation. So I don't know if I could do it,
Huh.
but that's very personal.
But
I
maybe
enjoyed
that's
casting
something
quite a
you
lot.
can keep. I don't know. I mean, that might be here and there some gigs. I mean, nobody asks like, especially the former pro players, to become like a 24/7 caster. Like those people, I don't know, like the real casters out there that do thousands of games per year, pretty
Yeah,
much. But like
yep.
big
But then,
gigs, analyzed panel, the inside of a pro player. This is something I really welcome on the big shows, and also the community. I mean, there's this old stereotype that casters have no idea what they are talking about, which is maybe sometimes correct, or maybe it's just the insight that the level of pro player something a caster of course will never reach. So having like one of these pro players analyzing it, I think it's really nice go
yeah,
on
then
production.
in that case, that would really be something I would like to do. Like I really enjoyed casting just because I'm also like I love Dota and I would be following those events regardless. So if I'm welcome to be on the show and just share my thoughts about the game with everyone, then
Yeah.
Sure. Like, why not?
Okay. On one last thing, pretty much to round this up. So casting would be an option, maybe not full time, maybe not like all the eggs in one basket right there, but you would definitely be up after your pro career. You mentioned on the after party to me something about your studies. Did you finish them, or
Yeah,
did you? Yeah,
I
you did.
have I have a few months to do, but the distance lessons, like just mail and stuff. So it's fine.
Hmm.
I'm actually done. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
done
I
with my
mean that's
studies.
good. So in case everything falls apart, you still have something in the real world, and I hate to call it like that, but well, we have to go with it. That you can fall back onto, and where it's, I don't know, something that will just catch you, and there's not like a big void after you stop playing, or maybe the success is just not coming, and you say like, okay, guys, that's it for me.
Yeah, pretty much. It's also very hard to predict where the scene will be uh, at this moment. I'm not sure because that might be in a few years when I'm done playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure how it will be, but no, that's definitely an option, and I enjoyed quite a lot.
Okay. Then I think this is definitely something nice. The viewers, and that's the funny part, they pretty much asked the same questions I already had on my little paper here and everything else I built in. So I hope I could satisfy the viewers and listeners of this podcast. I want to thank you obviously for coming. It was a nice story. I was very much interested in like what was before Alliance, what comes after the TI. We will see soon enough anyway. Of course, I also want to thank you for 2P Dota making this possible, as well as the other sponsors, Hitbox and Vulcan. A lot of people tuned actually into this, more than I expected. I mean, this is a podcast format, but we do the live streaming as well. Everything will be available, of course, on 2P Dota. You can read it up there with bullet points. You can watch the YouTube video, and I will also get to the whole SoundCloud and iTunes upload with all this. So this is something where, yeah, you can pretty much watch and listen it. So thank you again, Fakumed, and I hope to see a lot of success. I hope to see the new team thrive and bloom, and then TI is pretty much the next big step.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks a lot for having me, and yeah, we're gonna work very hard. All those efforts throughout the year, whereas it was on my side or on I know the others also put a lot of effort into Dota in general.
Yeah,
So we know that if there's any time to work hard, it's now. So it's gonna happen, and I'm very confident in our lineup, in our players. I'm very like I don't want to call anything, but I'm very confident, and I have a lot of motivation.
yeah. So this is the last chance for any shoutouts. Of course, guys, you can follow him on Twitter at fucking mad, or directly at Alliance, of course. But shoutouts.
Shout out to everyone that supports us. Shout out to everyone that supports me. I mean, my family, friends. Shout out to everyone that supports Dota in general. Like honestly, I've been amazed for the past years, and it just keeps on surprising me how nice people are and how nice the community in general. Sure, there are some derps, but overall,
Yeah.
it's a lifetime experience, and I'm very lucky, and I realize it. So yeah, shout out to everyone that's part of it.
Yeah,
Thanks for making
bottom
it
line
happen.
is take the good, ignore the bad. And with that being said, guys, this was the first time, as I said, the whole format and also the design on the stream, everything, it's very temporary. Next week I'm coming up with a lot more things after I return from Malaysia. If you want to follow me, of course, it's at Heflamoke on Twitter. Also, my side project, Hefla TV, is something you can check out. We will be casting a lot of Dota, Southeast Asian Dota, this weekend on the MPGL tournament, $50,000 C tournament. I'm really looking forward to it. It's just the traveling, as you also should know, is always the hard part on it. I want to thank you everybody for listening, and then I hope to see you all soon.
Bye bye.